Right, hello everybody. Welcome to the WGSN Trend Seminar. So today I'm going to be talking you through our WGSN trends for the spring-summer season. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at a few trends. We're going to cover a bit of formal wear, a bit of party wear, a little bit of casual wear, some occasion wear. And the other thing that I've really tried to do with this presentation, because of the way that the market is at the moment, obviously it's still quite financially tough out there. And really the way that we sort of feel that you should work your collections and your ranges at the moment is to really try and get a bit of balance between something that's kind of new and directional, but I've also tried to work in some more familiar pieces. So these are going to be the things that your customer is probably already wearing, already buying, and how do you work those pieces alongside the newer stuff as well. So I'm going to be trying to sort of tackle that as we go through the presentation today as well. So hopefully, at the end of it, should give you a bit more confidence in what you're buying at the show today. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with WGSN and the way that we work. We, each season, come up with 3 macro trends for the season. So these are our overriding trends that kind of provide the framework in which we work. And then within each macro trend, we basically show a few different directions in which you can take it, so you can basically interpret that trend in the way that's right for your business and your customer. So the first trend that we've got, which you can see the mood board here for, is called Wonderlab. So the trends I'm covering today are going to be Wonderlab, the story of now, and idiomatic. So for Wonderlab, we're inspired by recent galactic and scientific advances and the expectation that the world is really just beginning to start in ways that we're only beginning to imagine. So we're looking at electronics and biochemistry and also digital imaging, and these are forming the basis of some visuals for this trend, which is both futuristic but also quite naturalistic as well. So our first trend is called Wonderlab Casual Wear. Now this has really got a very sporty feel, and that's building on all the sports looks that we're seeing. That obviously 2012 has been quite an important year from a sports point of view, but not just for the sporting world, also for fashion as well. You know, we've seen sportswear and sports styling trending in a way this year that it hasn't done for a very, very long time. And so we really think that this is a slow-burning trend. This is something that's going to continue over several seasons. So this first look is about how do you build on that and how do you really push it on. So you can see the color palette here. We've got shades of hot pink, bright coral, purple, jade, sulfur, and that's working against a backdrop of very sort of grayed off neutrals. So let's start with one of our big money spinners, which is the skinny jean. At WGSN, we get asked an awful lot about what's the new skinny jean or what's the new maxi dress or whatever. And sometimes it's not necessarily about replacing that item with something else, but just about reselling it in a way that makes your customer go out and repeat purchase that same item. So something like the skinny jean, you know, we've all been wearing them for years now, and we saw the cropped lengths coming in, we saw all of the bright colour pop skinny jeans coming in, and then this spring, summer, we've seen all of the pattern and print coming into skinny jeans. So for 2013, what we're looking at is actually some metallics. So these kinds of futuristic reference points that I was talking about, we're working those into the kind of context of the skinny jean. You've got these metallic coatings, which is something our denim teams have seen a lot at a lot of the denim trade fairs. And then also we've got glitter finishes as well. And then the image in the top left-hand side there is actually a UV glow-in-the-dark skinny jean there. So that's really about, again, pushing that kind of scientific element to it. And these will be great for a kind of junior market. Okay, so here are a few items which are pretty familiar. So first of all, we've got the sweatshirt, which again is something that's been selling very well this summer, and so it's about how to push that on. So we've got these kinds of cut-out underarms and also a new longer length as well. And then the scuba look, which is kind of starting to take hold now, but I think whereas maybe customers weren't ready for it, it kind of hit the sale rail very quickly when they first tried to drop it. But I think now, within the context of all these sports looks, that sort of scuba look is finding a lot more relevance for people. So we've got this kind of scuba styling here for this little jacket in the middle. And then on the end, we've just got a really simple basic, which is the woven T-shirt, the shell top. That's something that we saw really hit for 2011 through 2012. And again, it's like these woven T-shirts, I think, is a really nice way to carry some of the fashion brights for the season. Okay, so now in terms of new key items, so these are the things that we're not really seeing hit retail, but these could be something that you could just introduce to just push things forward a bit. So on the left-hand side, we've got the bomber jacket. Now, this is really coming in for this autumn, winter just coming. And for spring, summer 13, we're looking at it working in more voluminous shapes, in more sort of lightweight, billowing silhouettes as a way to kind of drive that forward. And again, as a way of carrying some of those colours. Now, I think what's important to consider with the bomber jacket is about the varsity jacket, which I'm sure you've all seen in the stores, absolutely loads of them. We've seen them for men, for women, for kids. They've sold phenomenally well. They're coming back in this autumn, winter. And I think that sort of blues-on jacket shape, the customer is getting very accustomed to that shape as a little throw-on jacket. So there's definitely room to kind of move that forward for spring, summer. And then in the middle, we've got the little cagoule top, which this is really about sports detailing, these kind of little toggle ties and things, and about how you can work that sports detailing into sort of little crop top silhouettes. Or on the right-hand side, we've got a skirt as well with like an elastic. It's a bit difficult to see on this slide because it's white on white, but it's got like an elasticated draw tie waistband on it. So another key detail here, which I think you probably will have started to see in the shops, is this kind of cut-out shoulder, or what we call the cold shoulder. So this is a great way to really update your basics. So if you're looking at something new to do with your volume basics, your sweatshirts, tees, and shirts, I think that looks really great. And we're starting to see quite a few of these DIY interpretations of this coming through for some of our festival shops. And then we're also looking at a new surface here. So I talked a little bit about metallics, but I think these iridescent surfaces look really great as a kind of an alternative to the metallic, really. And we're seeing them very, very slowly beginning to come in now, but I think to pair those back against some of these bright colours is going to look really great. And then alongside the kind of galactic and microbiotic prints, we're also seeing this stripe update. So these are these kind of painterly stripes that are like watercolor stripes that are bleeding into each other with these kind of big, wide brush strokes. And I think you should look at this as well, potentially as a way of working into nautical looks if you do a lot of nautical, which we know is always going to be around for spring. I think that might be a nice way to update those looks. Now, as we go through the presentation, I'm just going to show you a slide for each trend to just show how we're already seeing these looks coming through on the pre-season collections. So this slide here is all taken from pre-season shows, and it really just shows that this sort of microbiotic print direction and how that's working alongside the sporty brights there. Now, footwear has got a kind of scuba element again, and really it's about these very sleek and streamlined silhouettes, and the influence of these kind of rubber tread sporty soles continuing. And then for accessories, we've got a few sporty shapes again. So the backpack, which is something that our accessories team are really, really pushing. So little sporty backpacks I think are going to look great here. And then this CAD in the bottom right-hand side here with the side release clasps. I think seeing those kind of plastic, functional, sporty clasps working across all sorts of footwear and accessories. And then the visor as well, that's something else the accessories team are pushing, and that kind of finds quite a natural home here in this look. Okay, so if I can have my first model, I'll show you how this look is working here at Spirit. Okay, so this is Bruna, and she's wearing this Wonderlab sporty trend. Now, what we've got here is the kind of the wide brushstroke sort of approach to print that I was talking about. And then also, we managed to find the glitter skinny jean. Now, I don't know if you can really see from here, but you may have to just take my word for it that these jeans do have a glitter finish on them. So we are seeing that that look is beginning to come through here. So the sweater dress is by Klushka, and they're at stand D65. And the sparkly jeans are from Pepe Jeans, and they're over just behind us there at stand B26. All right, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to stick with Wonderlab, but look at a trend which is really something completely different. So this is party wear. Now here we're seeing the colour really drop away, and instead what's important here is surface and metallics. So again, I think this trend is really, you'll see, it's all about the metallics. There's something that we've seen sort of on the back burner for a while, but we really feel very strongly about them coming back. So the carryover items that you'll see here are sort of fairly familiar pieces like the waisted shift dress, the peplum pencil skirt, and the ruffle front jacket. So the updates are really all about the metallic and foiled finishes, and here you can see it's kind of like got this kind of galactic look with these kind of crumpled and foil surfaces. Now in terms of new key items, we've got a real shift in silhouette here. So the maxi dresses, which you'll all be familiar with, here we've got the maxi dress really just going out straight from the yoke in quite a sort of trapeze shape. And then in the middle, the important thing about this CAD is actually the halter neckline, which is something else which we've seen, we've not seen so many halter necklines in a sort of trend-led fashion arena, but we sort of feel that those are coming back again as well. And then on the ends, we've got angular faceting and sheer overlays, which are providing a stark minimalism to counterbalance highly embellished surfaces. Now, as I mentioned, this is a trend that's all about the surface texture, and I'm sure that you've all had a lot of success in the past with ruffles. They've been really big in and out in various different guises. And what we're looking at for this trend is these kind of very structural and sculptural ruffles coming through. So this is really great for sort of very figure-flattering tops and dresses. And I also think that this is not one to necessarily discount if your customer isn't super girly, because they're not kind of flouncy ruffles, but they are actually something that's kind of quite dramatic and dynamic. Now, laser cutting is, again, a great way to sort of interpret that surface texture. So we've got these kind of clean and crisp lines with white on white as well as the metallics. And I really love this picture on the end here where, again, you're sort of having that sports reference with the laser cutting overlaid over a mesh. And then just to drive the message home, in case you weren't clear already, this slide is all about metallics. Here we've got, on the right-hand side, some colour tint metallics, but also, these kind of crumpled foils as well. So really, any sort of way, shape, and form, the metallics are what's important. And they're already coming through. So these are the slides from the pre-season collections, where you can see the sculptural ruffles I was talking about, and you can also see these kind of pleated and shimmering surface effects. So for footwear, precious metallics and laser cutting, and that's having an influence here on the uppers of these sandals. And for accessories, we've got these kind of minerals and raw cut stones, which are joined by this kind of like hand-blown glass on the left-hand side. So these kind of biological formations worked in glass and resins and plastics. And then the hard case clutch on the bottom there, that's a kind of microbiotic print that's worked in a translucent material. So I think transparents are quite important here as well. Okay, if I could get my next model, please. Okay, so this is Katerina, and she is wearing this dress, which is by Wow Couture, who you can find on stand B49. So really, this is just to demonstrate about this ruffle that I was talking about, and also about the peplum. I mean, peplums, again, are something that's just starting to pick up now. You know, we've seen quite a lot of them this spring, summer. We're expecting to see a lot of them moving into autumn, winter. And again, this is something that we still feel is going to be very much around for spring, summer 13. And I think this way of doing the peplum with the asymmetry in kind of quite a sculptural way works really well here. Okay, thank you, Katerina. Okay, so that's the end of the first macro trend. Now, the important thing to remember about this trend is that intricate microbiotic patterning and vibrant color stem from laboratory or galactic inspiration points. Sports styling continues updated with cutout, foiled, and iridescent surfaces. And we see a return to the heavy use of metallics for party wear and accessories. So moving on to our next macro trend, which is called the story of now. Here we're looking back at our digital past and re-examining technology which was once cast aside. This trend has a functional, utilitarian feel with a harmony between form and function. So we're going to start off with a casual wear look here. So here you can see the utilitarian aspect really coming through. So we're looking at a color palette of washed mid-tones and then these very greyed neutrals with that little flash of metallic, which is just here to represent the kind of technological aspect of this trend. Now, I'm sure you've all had a lot of success in the past with the trench coat, which is there every spring, and you know we just see it selling year after year after year. So here we've got the trench coat coming back in, but what we're looking at here is a much softer interpretation of it. I think this is looking really great. I was in Scandinavia a few weeks ago, and a few brands had started to work this shape there, and I think this is just a really nice way to update it. So if you look at those drop shoulders, the roll-back sleeves, it's got kind of quite a sort of oversized 80s feel about it. But I think that that's a really nice way as to just resell the trench coat in a sort of slightly different silhouette. And then for basics, we've got the cut-off crop tank there. And then in the middle, the T-shirt is updated in these kind of new stepped and layered construction, which we're going to see a bit more of. And then on the right-hand side, we've got the sweatshirt with its kind of like little cut-off sleeves. So again, it's that sweatshirt coming back, but how do you resell it in this kind of T-shirt shape? I think works really well here. Now, the dungaree is a very familiar item. It's not one that's been trending lately, as the consumers have been buying much more into the jumpsuits and the play suits. However, the denim dungaree is a great example of how the story of now macro trend looks at familiar pieces which have maybe been disregarded, and it brings them back and gives them a new relevance. So this is a great piece for festival styling for both as you're sort of moving spring right the way through into summer. And the WGSN team will tell you that it's very rare for me not to be wearing dungarees at the moment, so I do like to practice what I preach on this one. And I maintain that I would be wearing them whether or not I was heavily pregnant, so I feel very strongly about the dungaree. And now we've got the cagoule cape. So again, this is some more pieces if you've got a big festival market that are sort of really great for festival wear. The utility skirt as well. So it's just about those kind of very functional utilitarian details, the hoods, the zip pockets, the sort of paper bag waists. And then on the right here, this shirt dress with the camo print. Now, we're expecting to see all of the military looks, should be just sort of hitting the shops around about now for autumn, winter in a very tailored way, actually. But we've really seen a lot of military influences in our festival street shots. So again, this is something that we think is going to come all the way through into spring, summer, and then beyond as well. Our trends team is still talking about military for this time next year. And I think these kind of reworked camo prints are going to be very important there. And then the dungaree influence is kind of moving beyond denim here. So this is moving into skirts and dresses with these kind of bib and brace harness details on the necklines. So this is something that was on the Spring/Summer 12 catwalk. So it's not really hit Spring/Summer 12 in terms of retail yet, but I think by Spring/Summer 13, we are going to start to see a bit more of that detailing coming through. And then the studs. So studs have been around basically year after year after year, and we've seen every different type of stud. We've seen big studs, small studs, scattered studs, linear studs, coloured studs, the works. Do we feel like, somebody was actually asking me earlier about this and saying, you know, is it done yet? At what point do you say, kill it, we're over with the studs? And I think so long as there's still a demand for that out there, you can still keep pushing that forward, and people are still buying it, they're still wearing it. But what we've got here is the eyelet, which is, you know, a kind of variation on the stud, if you will. And I think it's still about looking at that hardware detailing and the way that the customer is sort of wearing that kind of DIY approach to sort of very customized hardware. And it's just a different interpretation of how that can be worked into, again, very simple tops, whether it's a T-shirt or a biker jacket or even shoes and accessories as well. Now, mull jerseys. So this is a very nice, easy-to-sell fabric, which is selling really, really well. We've seen it moving into more formal pieces, so more like the blazers. But really, for this trend here, we're looking at it being used in a very classic way, so for your sort of tees and sweats. And this kind of oversized boyfriend styling in the middle there, which I think looks really great here. And then here's the camo that I was just talking about earlier. So for menswear, we're seeing the camo really kind of picking up pace in the menswear market. I mean, it makes a lot of sense for menswear. They don't have many print directions they can get on board with in the way that women can. But I think for women as well, you know, we are going to see this and these kind of new interpretations of camo coming through as part of these military looks. And then here's a slide from the pre-season shows, so you can already begin to see these kind of functional shapes. You can see the camo, you can see the shirt dress, and then also this picture here, which is Salvatore Ferragamo, which is the very soft trench coat I was talking about at the beginning. And then for shoes, they've got a kind of solid practicality to them with these kind of wooden platforms. The straps are wide and sturdy, so that's something that we're seeing sell very well for footwear silhouettes, sandal silhouettes for this season. But also look at these kind of new functional woven slipper shapes. So embellishment and fuss is really kept to absolute minimum here, and this is all about form following function. And then the satchel, again, is another really big hitter. So this is revisited here in this kind of more slouchy messenger shape. And then we've got some minimal wraparound jewellery. And it's jewellery which is kind of very, very simple with this kind of barely there delicacy. So this isn't a heavily accessorised or jewellery-led trend. It's just there, but in just a very, very simple way. OK, if I could get my next model, please. Okay, so this is Anya, and she is wearing this mull jersey that I was talking about before. And then if you could just turn around the back. You can see here that this has kind of been given an acid wash, but it is about a kind of reworked camo look here. And then the T-shirt has just kind of got this like removed pocket sweatshirt detailing. And then for the jeans, we've got this kind of pink cast denim. Now, this is going to be really important right the way through into this time next year, is these kind of dusty pink tones for denim, which we're seeing a lot of when we're looking at denim laundries and colour tints in the denim fabric shows. So let me just tell you where these are from. So the bomber jacket and the T-shirt are both from Lois Jeans, which is over there behind you at stand B7. And then the wash jeans are from Time Zone, and they are just here at stand B3. Okay, thank you. So now, again, we're going to stick with the story now, but something completely different. So this is something that's very modern. It's this kind of modernism influence for formal wear. So we've got these primary brights, which are working against the soft neutrals. And this is really a move on from all of the kind of neutrals combined with neons that we've seen for this spring, summer. So here we've got warm neutrals combined with these kind of poster brights. And this trend is essentially, it's about an update on colour blocking, but it does incorporate some of the sporty looks that we've been talking about. So in terms of the carryover items, we've got the slim leg trouser, which is something that, we've seen quite a lot of. And here we can see a CAD with the panelling, and that can be really used to work those brights and neutrals together. And then the biker jacket, which is another, I always put it in the same category as the trench coat and the skinny jean. It just keeps going and it just keeps selling. And that's reintroduced here in the sleeveless interpretation. But we're going to really see the importance of that silhouette as we carry on through this trend. And then I'm sure you're going to really recognise as well this shirt on the end with the contrast collar and button placket. And again, that's something that's been selling very well and something that we think is just a great way to continue as really a colour vehicle to take this palette through. Now for new key items, we've got this peplum asymmetric shell top here. Which you can see that kind of asymmetric closure on it that is just referencing that sort of biker jacket silhouette. And then in the middle there, we've got this kind of blocked and spliced dress shape. I think what's important to look at here is the way that it got that very wide top shoulder line with a very narrow waist. And it's that kind of upside down triangle silhouette which we think is quite important for the season. And then on the end, we've got that kind of sculptural ruffle, which we looked at with the party wear trend. And I think that I just wanted to put that in there to show how if all of these kind of angular lines is a bit much, you can introduce something that's a much more curved silhouette, but still very strong and still very sculptural. And then this slide is really just about showing you how that biker jacket and how that asymmetry is working within this kind of modernism influences and the modernism reference points. So you can see the skirt as well as the jacket. It's about these kind of wraparound asymmetric shapes. And then the contrast placket shirt that we were looking at, those kind of contrast tapings are just really taken to a new level here with these kind of black framed necklines, and everything's just slightly off-center or at a slight angle, which is just reinforcing the importance of asymmetry. And then the zips. So this again is about sporty, and what we're seeing here is the zip of 2013 is the double zip. So we've got this kind of these double zip closures on jackets. But what I really love is the first image of the dress, where you've got the zips actually used to kind of delineate that kind of color blocking aspect to garments. And you can see those kind of black framing working really strongly. These are from the pre-season slides. And all of that asymmetry is really confirmed here in the pre-season shows. And then for footwear as well, we've got these kind of angled vamps and covered wedges as well. You can see all of those colours coming through, particularly this one here in the yellow, where you've got the yellow against the kind of camel neutral colour. And then for accessories, this is a really easy interpretation because it can be very sort of literal as this kind of modernist jewellery influence. But for something like the clutch bag, where you've got those angled lines as a way of carrying some of those poster brights, I think is going to be a nice, easy accessory. Okay, if I can get my next model, please. Okay, so this is Fola, and she is wearing the blue jacket, which is by Lucy Paris, and they're over at stand B66. And the orange dress is by Hybrid Fashion. Their stand B28, which is just kind of behind us over there. And here again, we're looking at the sculptural ruffle, we're looking at the biker jacket, but the way that it's done here is very much about these kind of slightly off-kilter brights and, all working together in a kind of clashing, quite modernist kind of a way. So it's very angular, it's very sharp, it's very tailored, and I think it's a nice way to kind of push that look forward. Thanks, Vola. Okay, so the key takeaways from the Story and Now macro trend are that form follows function for utilitarian casuals and modernist formal wear. Industrialism is suggested through the use of hardware and brace or harness necklines, and asymmetry helps to create an assembled bricolage construction. So now on to our last macro trend. So this is an evolution from a trend we did last season called hyperculture, and it explores the regional idiosyncrasies with a global appeal. So here we're looking directly at cultures, the customs, symbols, and hidden eccentricities, and magnifying them in a very progressive way. So this trend is a really great direction for print and pattern. So we're going to start off with casual wear, where we've got this very bold and graphic collection, which is inspired by a kind of Afro-American 80s Harlem. So a vibrant color palette is used here. So you've got azure and hot pink are the key brights, and they're offset by these kind of sandy camel and very dark charcoal colors. So this is a great trend for T-shirt selling, and it's really capitalizing on these kind of sporty tank tops. So you can really introduce all those sports basics here, as well as a kind of wider cut T-shirts and some of the high-low hems that we've seen around for a couple of seasons as well. And then for new key items, you can see the asymmetry that we were just talking about is also working into this trend as well. So these stepped constructions, I think what's interesting here is that we've seen a lot of blocking through color, we've seen different fabric blocking, we've seen pattern blocking, and now we're seeing blocking work in actually through the construction of the garment, and these kind of slightly offset layered panels. And then the paper bag waist. So this is a very important detail right throughout the spring-summer 2013 season. And this can be applied to shorts, skirts, and also jeans as well. And we've got this jean, which we're calling the buffalo jean on the end, which is kind of referencing the Vivienne Westwood collection. And I think that's quite a new shape to watch out for. It's quite an interesting silhouette, which we, again, think is starting to come through now and will come through for the next few seasons. And then this freeform hand knit. So I really love these kind of purposefully misshapen and unfinished knits. So it's got this kind of very free and easy, very grungy feel to it, really, and very sloppy shapes, which look great here. And then a few more knits here. So here we've got stripes and checks that are worked in these kind of irregular knit patterns. So again, it's about unexpected color combinations and morph lines, which are sort of flowing down into these kind of free-flowing silhouettes that you can see here on the right-hand side. And this is already coming through on the pre-season collections. So this kind of haphazard approach to blocking and splicing. And then I really love this image on the right-hand side with this kind of painterly stripes here. It's kind of very artistic look. And I think this one's by Issey Miyake, the one on the end. For footwear, threaded, braided, and woven uppers are decorating the footwear. But whereas the kind of neutrals and tans might be the natural way that you would expect to see these kind of fabrications coming through, I think what's really interesting here is the use of colour. So you can see this image on the right-hand side, and it's about those kind of almost espadrille-like jute soles, but rather being done in jute, you've got it in plastic in bright colours, and it's just really pushing that forward. And then we've got a similar thing coming through for accessories as well. So where you would expect to see something like raffia or straw, instead to work it in brightly coloured plastics, or the combination, like the bangles there, of rubber and rope and things like that, that I think feels kind of, almost kind of quite an upcycled feel to them. Okay, can I get the next model, please? Okay, so Anya is wearing the freeform knit, which I was just talking about here, which we got from stand D11, and that's from Sunku, who are just on the side over here. And then I really love this bomber jacket, which is this sort of Afro print worked in the bomber jacket in the sporty shape. I think this is absolutely amazing. So this is from Kuchia, and they're over on stand D36, which is over there. And then we've just paired that for a sort of extreme Hoxton Shoreditch kind of a look here, with the leggings as well, which are also from Kuchia. So I think it's, as a full outfit today, I appreciate we have taken this look to the extreme, but I think if you were to deconstruct it and put it back with a pair of like plain jeans or something like that, I think that on their own, these are absolutely fantastic pieces, particularly the bomber jacket, which I love. All right, thank you. Okay, so this is our last look, and this is how idiomatic is being interpreted for sort of party and occasion wear. And so this is something completely different again. So here we're looking at something very feminine and folksy, and we've got these kind of very full-bodied reds and inky blues, but they're mixed back with very sort of pale pinks and lace whites. So that's making it feel a lot more summery. So these folk looks are something that are coming in for spring-summer, autumn-winter 12-13, but this is about carrying those through then into spring-summer. So we've got lace and lace paneling, and these have been obviously selling very, very well for everybody across spring, summer, autumn, winter. They sell all year round, and I think that here you can really capitalize on that with the return of this kind of the lace dress with the lace yoke and sleeves, but also lace is an update for the pencil skirt. So whether it's a lace overlay on a pencil skirt, or in the case of this one, it's a kind of dropped hem with almost like a long length petticoat peeping out from underneath a sort of shorter skirt shape there. But really that is about these sort of very familiar pieces like the pencil skirt that your customer understands, they know how to wear it, they know how to style it into pieces that they already have in their wardrobe, and it's about getting that balance right. Now for new key items, we've got this kind of drop waist dirndl dress, and then again a little dropped hem there. So quite a few of our women's wear team were introducing these kind of little dropped hems on both skirts and dresses. And then on the right-hand side, we've got the couture T-shirt. So this is something that is coming through for autumn-winter and something that will carry into spring-summer as well. And that's about these T-shirts that have just been upsold, really, with lots of embellishments. So it's about taking something that's very sort of simple and turning it into a real premium piece and making your customer understand that that's why you have it at that higher price point, is because it has that embroidery or embellishment or whatever it is. And I think this is a great example of how that can be done. So you've got a very simple shirt shape here, but just with that kind of folksy embroidery or a folksy bib on it. And then, sorry, I'm going the wrong way here. The lace, what's new here for the lace is a return to traditional needlework. So this is about a focus on craft. And again, it's important to sort of make your customers understand, if you're putting more craft pieces in there, why those pieces are at that higher price point. So these traditional whites are carrying these patterns, and I think that's really about emphasizing the authenticity of this look. And then this slide is a very literal interpretation of what we'd expect a kind of Eastern European folksy look to sort of be interpreted. But you can see here some great examples of that sort of very heavy embroidery on the dark grounds. And like I said, it's important to kind of really sell that in as a premium piece. And then we can see that being confirmed here on the pre-season collections with the little lace yoke and sleeve dress that I was talking about. And you can really see how the colour palette is working on this slide with the reds, the blues, but played off against the kind of the very sort of pale summery neutrals. Then for footwear, we've got heavy wooden soles, which are providing a sturdy base for footwear shapes, which are then tempered by lace-like or kind of filigree uppers. So it's a bit of a play off against something quite sturdy and something quite delicate here. And for accessories, this is going to be a fantastic trend for accessories selling, because you've got all the scarves, you've got the hair accessories, the brooches, the bags. But what we really love are these kind of floral corsage headpieces, which is something that we're seeing coming through very, very strongly in all our festival shots. So it's a great sort of festival piece for next year. I think they look fantastic. Okay, can I get my last model out, please? Okay, so this is a dress which Froda is wearing by Chica London. They're at stand B41. And really, this is just this trend interpreted in its easiest, most simple, easiest to sell way, which is a lace dress with the lace yoke that we were talking about in the pails. But I mean, like, you could really dress this up with something that was more, I mean, we've got a slightly sort of heavy shoe there, which is that kind of sturdy footwear shape that I was talking about. But the idea of putting it with like a little embroidered jacket or some of the headpieces that I was talking about. But this is that look done at its kind of most basic, easy to understand way. Right, thank you. Okay, so the takeaways for idiomatic are that print and pattern comes to the fore, embellishments add value to placements and all-overs, tribal patterning has an urban feel with influences from Africa, and folk florals are worked with decorative fabrics such as lace for summer occasion wear. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation. So hopefully that's just given you a whistle-stop tour of Spring/Summer 13, and it's given you a little bit of understanding about how you can work those very sort of simple, commercial, familiar pieces, but also a few new things as well. So yes, go forth and find it on the stands. It's all out there. I've seen it. All right, thank you all very much.